Pastor Chad here at All Souls Congregational Church. It's Friday, March 27th, and I thought I'd offer a few words to you today. Let me begin with a couple of verses from the 31st Psalm, beginning in verse 9. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am in distress. My eyes waste away from grief, my soul and body also. For my life is spent with sorrow, and my years with sighing. My strength fails because of my misery, and my bones waste away. And one of the things I love about Scripture is that it offers us a very honest accounting of the human experience. What I mean by that is we find in the pages of Scripture both the highs of life and the lows. We find moments of dance and celebration and song, but we also find things like distress and grief and sorrow and misery, all of which were part of that brief reading I shared with you a moment ago. You know, sometimes we make a false assumption. We think that God, somewhere along the line, promised us as people of faith to spare us such things, to lead us around difficulty. God has made no such promise. In fact, we see in Scripture that God's people have always encountered difficulty. God's promise to us is slightly different. God has promised not to steer us around difficulty, but to meet us in the midst of it. To meet us in the midst of it, to even share it with us, and to bring with Him the power to redeem. We see this idea no more clearly than we do in the life of Jesus Christ Himself. For in Jesus, God has stepped into history to share in the human experience. In Jesus, God has experienced hunger and thirst, grief and loss. God has known in Jesus betrayal and humiliation, pain and suffering, and ultimately death. But God brought with Him in Jesus that power to redeem, and we see that power at work on Easter morn when Christ rises victoriously from the grave. Now, what does all of this mean for us in our present moment? It means, first of all, that we should not think that God has somehow been unfaithful to some promise to spare us from all difficulty, for God never made that promise. We should move beyond the question of why is this happening, and instead begin to look for God's presence in the midst of these things. To look for God sharing this experience with us, walking with us as we navigate these days. And we should be looking for the ways in which God's power to redeem might be unfolding in our own lives. Even in the midst of difficulty, God has a way to bring forth good, to reshape us, to change our perspectives, to renew relationships. This is what God does. These are difficult times, and sometimes we want to know why. Why are these things happening? And I don't have any easy answers for that. But this I do know, that God never promised that we would be spared such things. Instead, God has promised to be with us, to share in these things with us, and to bring His power to redeem, to bear upon them. And to that promise, God was, always has been, and is today faithful. Be looking for Him. I'm Chad Poland, pastor and teacher here at All Souls Congregational Church. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it to be an encouragement, please like and share so that others might watch it too. Again, thank you for watching. Stay healthy, and God bless.